What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Alright, so for those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Dan. This is the Millennial Investing channel, and this channel's goal is to, cover tech and financial topics in order to help, young people really understand their finances and really make sure that they don't have to worry about money throughout their life. So, if you are interested in those topics, make sure to stick around and subscribe, and I'll get right into it. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be going over Nvidia and what happened in their latest earnings report, and why the stock price has dropped since then, and whether I think that that's just a lot of overreaction or whether I think that Nvidia is going to have some tough times ahead of it, and just kind of giving my 2 cents on what's going on based off of what was released by the company. So for those of you that don't know, Nvidia is one of the darlings of Wall Street. It's gone up over 1,000% in the past 4 years or so. And it's been a growth beast. It's had it's a large cap tech company, but they've been increasing revenue by 40+% for the past few years, and the stock price has shown it. It's been having everything good go for it over the past few years, and now things are slightly getting a little shaky, and the stock price is dropping. And I'm kind of gonna go over why I think that's happening and whether I think that's justified right now. So, all in all, what was just released from Nvidia is that in their last earnings report, they said that their revenue went up 40% year over year. Now, with the size of a company that Nvidia is, going up 40% is very impressive, and it kind of means that the demand for their products, mainly graphics cards, are going through the roof. And that can be seen in industries such as AI, Internet of Things, cloud storage, video editing, anything that you can possibly think of that really requires a lot of computing power generally requires a very strong graphics card to go with it. And so the fact that their revenues are up 40% year over year is kind of outstanding, and it's very more impressive than the majority of Nvidia's peers in the tech space. Now, when you look at their data center revenue, they've been doing this relatively recently. They have been, kind of what I explained in this video when I was talking about Micron. A lot of companies are shifting to the cloud storage facility, and they're trying to catalog as much data as possible. And with the data center, Nvidia has seen, an 82% increase of demand and revenue year over year, and that's kind of outstanding. This is a relatively new space that they've entered, and it's growing rapidly. So, you can see, Microsoft's cloud's growing, Amazon's cloud's growing, Google's cloud's growing. They need computer components in order to maintain that level of growth for the demand that so many companies are trying to switch to. So that's a really good industry for Nvidia to kind of be like the flagship graphics card in that space, and so that's really good news for Nvidia that it's going that well. Another big thing, and that's going to kind of lead into the next couple of big points, is that Nvidia has now just developed their turning architecture. And so what that means is they are transitioning away from their classic, like CUDA cores and based model GPUs that they've been using, for the past almost decade now, and they're switching to something that is going to allow them to have a 6 to 10-fold increase in computing power for graphic-related things. This also is going to let them expand into the visual effects and VR industries in a huge way. So that's really important, because those industries are expected to grow exponentially over the next few years. And the next point, what was stated in their earnings call, is that they are now, entering a market that, is roughly $520 billion. So depending on how much, market share Nvidia is able to gain in that space, Nvidia could have a massive increase in market capitalization over the next couple of years. So that's really exciting, and another big pro for Nvidia that came out of this earnings report. A couple of other things to note is that gaming growth is expected to only increase over the next few years. Games have become, especially after Fortnite, have become more of a staple thing, and that the majority of society is into, not just a small group of people like it was 10 years ago that game when they can. Now it's becoming an actual thing, along with esports and everything. Like, a lot of citizens around globally are really tuning into gaming and really getting on board. And Nvidia sees that just growing over the next couple of years, which is another huge plus for the best graphics card company in the world. They've also re-announced partnerships with EA, Square Enix, and other major game companies that are going to help render and develop their games specifically for NVIDIA architecture, so that way, Nvidia already makes the best graphics cards, but companies that are partnered with them make sure that their games run best on Nvidia chips and Nvidia chips alone. So that's just going to help Nvidia kind of, you know, keep hold of their graphics card market share. And now for the next biggest news is that this was just released that Google is now officially going to be using all of these new graphics cards that Nvidia is coming out with on their Google cloud computing and cloud storage. For those of you that don't know, Google's, like, say, cloud computing is ideally you're going to purchase a virtual machine, which is just you have a login to a desktop that Google owns that is, you know, miles and miles away from you. It could be in the middle of the country, and you're going to have remote access to it over the internet, and you can pretty much rent out this computer. So rather than going out and, you know, buying a $10,000 gaming or workstation rig, you can just rent it for, you know, like a couple dollars, you know, every day or so from Google, and all of these machines are going to be running Nvidia graphics cards, which is great because now that Nvidia is, you know, breaking through to this whole new undiscovered land with their turning architecture, Google's going to be buying, you know, GPUs in massive bulk. And, you know, as that technology keeps innovating, if the demand for Google Cloud keeps going up, they're going to need to keep buying from Nvidia, which is a really good, you know, revenue stream for Nvidia down the line. And generally, if you're buying, you know, if you're buying a massive workstation from, or you're renting out one from Google, odds are you need the best of the best, and it's generally for, like, businesses that, you know, they don't have as large of space or capital, so they need to rent out these machines. They're going to need the best of the best, so Google's going to be constantly updating that so that way they can keep their premium price for renting out these machines. So that's a pretty big win for Nvidia again. Now, so these are the main pros that I took away from Nvidia's release and, you know, what they've said and what their CFO said. Now there have been some cons, and, like, hence why the price dropped. And those are mainly centered around, at least from my understanding, a couple of things. One of them being that cryptocurrency mining is dying. Big shocker there. And that their revenue growth guidance is slightly lower than what they had anticipated their revenue growth guidance was supposed to be. I'll start with the crypto one, but I'll go back to that in a second. With crypto mining, you know, Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies, you know, they're very speculative, and, you know, they are very hype. You know, like if the price starts to die down, generally people lose interest, and if people lose interest, people don't buy graphics cards to go mining anymore because the price isn't going up, so they have less incentive to do it. You know, whether you think Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies are here to stay, that is something that is kind of dying out. But what is said time and time again, even during the whole Bitcoin fiasco, is that for both AMD and Nvidia, is that while their graphics cards do sell a lot more because of that, it was only a marginal amount of their revenue. And that's mainly because when they go to sell their graphics cards, they're selling them to, you know, most of the time to third-party distributors that, you know, like MSI or Asus, that are adding on their own custom CPU cooling architecture and things like that, plates, you know, design stuff, and then they're selling it. So Nvidia's already made their sale by the time that the end user is going to be buying it. So, like, yes, the demand might be lower from that region, but the majority of Nvidia sales are going to go through as normal. So I don't think it's going to be, I think there will be some of a drop in the revenue because of it, but I think it's pretty unrealistic to think that it could justify this amount of price drop. You know, I know that it's recovered since then, but I remember when the news first came out, you know, Nvidia dropped after hours like 6%, and that's kind of, from that, I don't think it's at all justified, but again, that's just my opinion. And the other major thing is that they have, you know, they gave great guidance, but it's slightly lower than what Wall Street was anticipating. And now this is kind of the interesting thing. When you look at companies, you really want to make sure that you're looking at, you know, what the company says and not what analysts are saying. You know, if analysts were right, then the average Joe would be making a lot more money off of following analysts and what they say. There's a reason why most big-time investors kind of shun analysts, and that's because, you know, analysts are generally wrong, you know, in the long run about 80% of the time. So, you know, them having unrealistic guidance and Nvidia saying that, okay, our guidance is going to fall short of that slightly, and then everybody's overreacting to that, I think that that's just kind of noise and people being stupid, but unfortunately that's just the way, you know, Wall Street works. You know, like, Nvidia gave good guidance, they expect good growth, and they expect to have a very profitable next quarter, but, you know, that just wasn't good enough apparently for Wall Street, even though their current quarter beat all of their estimates. Again, why would you trust, you know, their estimates if they're either getting beat or missed constantly. But anyways, you know, so that's just kind of why it's in a bad lighting right now. And because, you know, Nvidia is a major growth company, as are the most of the companies that I've reviewed so far in this channel. And so when people start to worry about that growth decelerating, you know, people pull out their money. Do I think that's justified right now? No. You know, it's just one of those things. Like, unfortunately, that is the nature of the tech space. Everybody's looking at it. You have to be willing to deal with the fluctuations and price movements. And, you know, you need thick skin to be in these types of companies. AMD bull, you know, from the videos I've dropped here and all the other ones, but AMD's graphics cards can't hold a candle to Nvidia's. You know, when they last released their Vega line, and I touched upon it in the video I made about AMD, it was, you know, kind of a fighting chance. Like, you know, it was a budget card, but it was almost as good for a significantly lower price. But then AMD went and jacked up the price to the point where it was even more expensive than the already outperforming Nvidia card. So I don't think Nvidia really has to worry about AMD taking away market share in the GPU space yet. You know, it'll be interesting to see how their new line, you know, combatants the new line of Nvidia. But I do think AMD can take away a lot of market share from Intel. I do not think they can take away a lot of market share from Nvidia, at least as of right now. And so that's kind of my little tangent on why I don't think Nvidia really has anything to worry about, and it's a great company. Like, all the industries that it directly affects are growing, and they should be growing for the, you know, the next 10 years. So it's definitely going to be a growth beast for a very long time. I just think that there are better plays, I guess, in the growth to, you know, risk-reward space. But again, that's also just my, you know, personal preference, and, you know, the investments that I currently have, I think, are just better than Nvidia. That doesn't necessarily mean that Nvidia won't outperform them. Like, hey, look at, you know, 4 years ago, if I thought Nvidia was going to perform the way it did, out of 10 times my money, like, no problem. So, you know, that's just my 2 cents. That's my opinion of looking at it. So yeah, that's kind of my recap on what happened with Nvidia and why I think that the news, I do think it was noise, and I do think it was an overreaction by the media. And so it'll be interesting to see how the next couple of weeks, months play out prior to the next earnings report. All right, so I hope you guys liked it. If you stuck around for this long, please like and subscribe. You know, it really helps me out. You know, throw in the comments below if you agree or disagree with anything I've said, and let me know if there are any other companies that you want me to give an update on, or if you want me to go deep dive into Nvidia and like really explain the fundamentals and all the different ratios of the company, and, you know, giving it a more of a value approach to looking at the company. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.